Hello. My name is Carrie. Today, I would like to share with you my experience on subconscious extrasensory perception, or dreams. Two significant recurring dreams have given me insight into Earth changes, timeline shifts, and the choices before humanity at this time. We have not crossed that bridge of no return yet, and if we make it our choice, we never will have to cross that bridge. Previously I have talked about the three types of extrasensory perception, and also described my experience with clairsentience. I described it as conscious sensing. I felt it necessary to distinguish the difference between conscious and subconscious states. I think that most people are aware of these awake and sleeping states, so I don't need to explain the difference. We all have dreams. In my previous video, on my perspective of clairsentience, I mainly focused on the extrasensory part. There is, however, an untold story into the depth this changes your daily perceptions. It is sometimes impossible to see things from a normal perspective. Many will find, as they awaken to their own innate ESP, they can't see things the same anymore. What we are told is our reality, is an illusion, and you can see that now. We have been educated, and told to ignore our instincts and intuitions. As you head towards a more spiritual perspective, the material trappings and control mechanisms put in place, become obstacles to a higher state of awareness and existence. Many people can sense the earth changing, even if you can't identify it now, this year, with the most extreme weather ever recorded. This is not man-made, well actually some are geo-engineered, and used as geo-weapons. But we did not create global warming, and we have not caused climate change. Earth is changing because the cycle brings it. It also brings changes to the other planets and the sun. These are active times, and our subconscious mind is working overtime. You might not understand why, but your oversoul does. Does your consciousness go to sleep when you do? If you said yes, you are probably in for an uncomfortable shock, or you can turn it off, and don't listen. Dreams are an integral part of maintaining our sanity. It is a known fact, that without REM sleep we would quickly go insane. We need our connection to this realm, and we don't understand why. What are dreams? You ask this question to 10 people, and you'll get 10 different answers. Why? Because they all have different perspectives. Dreams are personal, and are linked with your awake life, and your subconscious oversoul, who is multidimensional, and not bound by form. Your dreams are the connection between your multidimensional oversoul, and you having this experience in this life, a fracture of the oversoul. Our consciousness, that we perceive as our awareness, or our soul, doesn't go to sleep with our bodies. Our soul leaves every night. It becomes temporarily reintegrated with your oversoul, and goes off doing all sorts of things. We mostly don't remember because it is a multidimensional experience, and when your soul comes back, and you wake, the conscious one-dimensional linear thinking takes over. We might remember glimpses, and say, that was a weird dream. Everybody is an expert in dreams. We all sleep, and we all dream. What the dreams mean is entirely personal perspective. The subconscious sensing I am about to speak about, is an extrasensory dream. I am not going to distinguish between types of dreams, and their interpretations. There's already enough information available on those subjects. Whether it's astral travel or projection, out-of-body experience, lucid dreaming, etc., the dream state is one when you're not awake. A large part of our life is spent asleep, in the dream world. Yet what are we taught about it? How do we understand it? I was taught they aren't real, it's only a dream. Many cultures once taught children how to understand their dreams. It is, after all, a big part of our physical existence. It is the two sides of our whole physical self, and yet we are taught half our life isn't real, it's just a dream. You have to love the irony of it. We are taught our dreams aren't real, and that what we experience when we are awake is. If you don't get the irony, it's because your journey hasn't led you to the understanding that the perceptions are back to front. In reality, our dreams are the only real thing. Our awake life is an illusion we don to experience this dimensionality and density. So, if you want to understand a very large part of yourself, then you have to go looking for self-help books, and other how to interpret your dream books. How is it that such an important part of who we are is not taught to us as children? Dreams are dismissed as not real, imaginary. There's something not right when we are told a large part of our existence isn't real, has no validity, it's just imaginary, or a fairy tale. So what is real, when I'm awake, or asleep? Dreams are real. Our ignorance of the importance of our dreams is real. Our inability to understand, because of lack of education in dreams, is real. The disconnection in ourselves, because of an inability to understand, means we are disconnected in our waking life as well. Our dreams are our connection to universal understanding, to our oversoul, and infinite expression, even all the way to source. It connects us to all other things, in a way our limited minds can't perceive the words to voice its description. It is intangible, yet can be felt and perceived. We are disconnected to the universal energy, because we dismiss our dreams as not real. We are disconnected from Earth's energy, because we deny our instincts and intuitions, as not real. We are doubly disconnected, from above and below. We have become a slim shadow, from the connectedness we once understood, and experienced. When it comes to the subconscious and dreams, only you can interpret what they mean. These messages and communications, lessons, or updates, whatever they are for the person experiencing them. They have to interpret what it means to them. Other people will see it differently, and this is your own tailor-made dream, not anybody else's. You have to understand it, how it relates to you. If my mum was around, she'd tell you it's just a dream, don't worry about it, it's not real. Bless her, but she didn't have a clue, so how could she teach me? I grew up being told dreams weren't real, yet wanting to understand because I knew they were. If you told a doctor that your dreams are real, he'd be doing a psych evaluation on you. Our ignorance, my ignorance of dreams, is hereditary. A tradition I stopped with my own children. How many people would believe you if you told them your dreams were true, real? Truth is, nobody believes dreams. If I told you I had a dream about becoming a millionaire, you would tell me it's just wishful thinking, it's not real. Next thing I buy a lottery ticket, and I win $2 million, and now I'm psychic, and people believe my dream. Was the dream real? Was it related to me winning money, or was it just luck? Nobody knows, and that's the mystical side of dreams, nobody seems to know much at all. My understanding of dreams began at a young age. What I would classify as extrasensory dreams, from my perspective, are ones that occur over and over again. It feels like it's so important for my conscious mind to remember, that you literally have the same dream, like Groundhog Day, over and over again. As I said, I paid attention to my dreams from a young age, but understanding was probably the wrong word to use. I didn't understand them, and adults told you they weren't real, so they couldn't help. One particular recurring dream, or more correctly a nightmare, very much imprinted in my young mind. I worried about it during the day, and it filled me with fear. This recurring dream has impacted my whole life. I knew it was trying to tell me something, but I didn't like what it was saying. If I was to describe what this recurring dream meant several years ago, I would have said, I fear it's a premonition of the future. As I gained greater understanding, suddenly one day something I heard triggered the dream recollection. I suddenly realized it wasn't a premonition of the future, but a memory, a warning from the past. This completely changed my perspective, from that of impending doom, to that of hope, of changing from the path that we have chosen before. If you have seen the movie, knowing, with Nicolas Cage, you might remember a scene, when the boy looks out the window, and sees a burning world. That image sent chills through me. That image is the scene I had in my recurring dream, except there was a little more going on in my dream. In my recurring nightmare, every night I would wake up with horror, at the same horrible things. The worst thing was being told I had to leave my family behind. I usually woke at that part, absolutely afraid of my family dying. I wasn't going to recount the details here, but if I don't explain it, you won't understand why it has had such a big impact on my life. When you have an end of the world nightmare, it's hard to shake its recurring threat. You know it's trying to tell you something. You know it's real, but don't tell others, because they won't believe you, and they'll think you're just another doomsday nut. This recurring dream is, in a way, a premonition, if we fail to heed the warning in the memory from the past. My dream always starts when I am running. There are animals around me running too. It's dark, yet it's very light. There is shades of orange to white glows everywhere, moving like the aurora lights. There is a loud roar, and in it you can hear people screaming, from nearby to far away. All the animals are calling out, as they run frantically. I am terrified and I don't know why I am running. There's nowhere to run to. To the right side of me the lion speaks to me. He's with a giraffe and a bear. The lion tells me to hurry, that we must escape now. I panic, and yell to be heard over the loud roar, but I can't leave my family. What about my mom, and my brother and sister? I can't leave them, they will die. I try to insist, to get the lion and the giraffe and bear, to help me find my family, but the giraffe and bear agree with the lion. There is no time and we have to leave, and your family can't come, it's only you. The whole earth is in turmoil, and all life is burning and dying, and the worst is about to happen. It is complete devastation, and it can't be stopped. I ask the lion, why are you saving me and not my family? I can't leave without them. We must leave now, was all the lion says. This nightmare imprinted on me, and my perceptions ever since. Emotionally, this was a very traumatic experience. But it wasn't just about me and my family, or people, it was about all life and the planet. This is huge earth changes. I have always believed we were heading towards major earth changes, and indeed we are. The devastation I saw in my dream was a warning from the past, that if we interfere technologically with this natural cyclic change, then the devastation will be 1,000 times worse. Humans' choices determine whether the past will repeat itself, or we make decisions that avert major extinction-level events, or at least minimize its impact. I'd like to wrap it up in a nice little, never going to happen package, but I can't. I understand now, that this recurring dream was a past memory, but it is also a warning for our actions now, and how they will affect the future. We are going through change, this is undeniably evident. If you believe human history, as fed to us at school, then it's impossible to think technology caused the fall of a once great advanced Earth, populated with many humans and other types of sentient life. If you understand that our true history is concealed from us, then you can quickly recognize humanity is again, on the verge of major change. In the past, human actions have disturbed the natural process, with powerful technologies that infringed upon the very balance of existence. Our interference, in trying to stop this natural process, magnified major earth changes, into extinction-level events. Our interference using powerful forces, like what CERN create, like nuclear explosions tests around tectonic plates, like geoengineering and bioweapons, is leading us towards repeating history. Technology has now sought to impose its control on nature herself. We have been here before, and using such destructive technologies has nearly wiped out all life. We can't play with the planet, and all the life that exists on it. We can't allow a few to repeat the extinction of the past, simply because they have the money to do it, and no public oversight. my understanding. So this recurring dream imprinted on who I am, and what I believe. This repetitive nightmare was for my benefit, for me to understand greater truths. It left me with a great sense of loss, for my family, for all people, for all life. With the hindsight of 40 years, I can now understand that this recurring dream, this strong extrasensory subconscious sensing, came from my own past. I know it has happened in the past, and I know it could happen again. It's a strong warning, do not make the same mistakes over and over. Stop, change the immediate reaction to blow something up, to avert a natural event. It's illogical, to change the course of a powerful natural event, by adding power to it. In many ways, subconscious sensing is no different to conscious sensing. There is the distinct impression of it being like a memory, as with the aspect of the dream that I just recollected, but there can also be a very symbolic and puzzling aspect, that is more reminiscent of something occurring in the present. Why was I running with all the animals? Why the lion, the giraffe, and bear? It feels strange that no people were with me, and that the animals were there to save me. I don't fully understand all aspects, with my logical mind, but there is a part of me that senses and understands its multifaceted meaning. There were more animals that I remembered distinctly years ago, but I couldn't say exactly which ones now. The lion, giraffe, and bear are very distinct, and are like three brothers rolling together, and they came to save me. I'm just as puzzled in the dream, as to why they wanted to help just me, but the fact they spoke like you or I, didn't seem abnormal at all. Perhaps the animals represent my harmony with nature, and my ability to understand its existence from its own perspective. I am alive today because of the forewarnings from birds and animals, and other invisible hands of nature, that defy gravity and push me back to safety. You should have seen the looks on people's faces, when their jaw drops and their eyes pop out, because they saw it too. How, they would stutter, how did you do that? Truth is, I'm just as shocked as them, and I don't know either. Twice I have had a force push me back up to safety. I was falling backwards, beyond any balance to stand again, and I was bracing for a painful landing. Then suddenly, as I'm about to hit, something just pushes me, and flips me quickly back up standing. No matter what subconscious sensing is, it is always personal and interpretative, to the person experiencing it. It is purely choice, if another believes you or not. It seems that no matter what you are sensing, whether consciously or subconsciously, the key mystery is time. I speak of past, history, present and future, but these are constructs of our 3D linear mind. In the multidimensional aspect of things, time is concurrent, there is no past, present or future, it all exists simultaneously together. In a plane of existence, an infinite possibility of timelines are created from the activities of those choosing that experience. Just like with dreams, we haven't been taught to understand time either. In 2008, I experienced another period of recurring dreams. Only recently have I understood its greater significance. Around 5 years ago I started hearing about people experiencing different timelines. Cafes they frequented for 20 years, have never served their regular order. Little things happened to people, and there were small whispers of changes. Déjà vu was also becoming synonymous with this phenomenon. Now there is a larger number of people experiencing different timelines, with subtle differences in history than what they remember. This phenomenon has become known as the Mandela effect. I have noticed many of the noted differences, like Mandela dying in jail back in the 80s. Little things like C3PO was all gold, he never had a silver leg. In my timeline, Sex in the City was a regular on Austar, constantly advertising it, Sex in the City. Yeah, it's a little thing, and you could say that when the show went digital they just tweaked the title, and now everything refers to the tweaked title. But life is like a box of chocolates, again, constant advertising drums these sayings into your head. Forrest Gump said life is like a box of chocolates, sitting on a park bench, looking down at the box. Repetitive advertising does imprint on your memory. I could also agree with some geographical discrepancies. I studied Italy at school, and it always looked like a boot with a small heel. Now if you look at Italy, it looks like a chunky high heel, a knee-high stripper boot. Can it just be how our maps are presented? I really don't know, and it's impossible to say, one way or the other. There is a correlation between my recurring dreams in 2008, timeline shifts, Hurricane Katrina, and the Mandela effect. 2008 was a very memorable year for me, and recurring dreams weren't my only experience. For the time span of several months, every time I traveled this certain stretch of road, coincidentally in between a cemetery and an abattoir, I experienced changes in my perception of time. It was bizarre, and felt really weird, like I was being pulled out of normal time and it was slowing my perspective of it. There were many things going on for me in 2008. We had just moved into a new house, and my husband had started a new job. We were settling into the new house, and my husband his new job, when Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, where my husband's company's head office was. It caused an instant rippling effect to all offices worldwide, and all scheduled work was paused. My husband was home bored because of this. Hurricane Katrina happened in 2008 in my memory, not 2005 as it is in this timeline. I couldn't be sure of the exact date in 2008, but it was late winter here, and we had been in the new house for several months. It was probably August, it could have been the same days, just a 3-year difference. This 3-year difference may have something to do with revelations of CERN creating portals to other dimensions and times. Only recently have I become aware of the connection between the Katrina effect, the Mandela effect, time, and my recurring dream, and the warning it contained. And not to forget, quantum computers with capacity to access other dimensions, CERN accessing portals and time, and a 3 years effect, as revealed by former CERN employee, and HAARP disrupting our Earth's magnetic field. The two most significant recurring dreams I've had are related. The very forces I just mentioned, are disrupting particles and the balance of our existence. Chemtrails is devastating enough, in poisoning us and the planet, but it also contains particles that have now encompassed the Earth. Nanoparticles, programmed like any computer, for a specific purpose. I believe that the nanoparticles encompass the Earth, allowing for HAARP to energize the particles, and create a bubble, or shield around the planet. With this all working, CERN and the D-Wave quantum computer activate, and Earth has just been moved to a pre-selected timeline. The whole planet, and everything on it, was shifted to another timeline. I believe this to be the root cause of the Mandela effect. I also believe that we, or should I say, the planet, has shifted timelines several times already. Every time the planet shifts a timeline, more people notice it has occurred. We are not talking about a singular event, which has caused a singular effect. This is a progressive and incremental shift in timelines, with a deliberate unknown agenda. I would like to go into more detail about the Mandela effect at another time. I can zone out if I listen to Microsoft Dave too long, and he's already been yakking for ages now. So I'll save it for another video. Thank you for listening. If you liked it, then don't forget to hit the like button. If you didn't like it, then share it around anyway, someone you know might get something out of it. Be kind to each other, and yourself. Talk to you soon. Cheers from Carrie. Hello. My name is Carrie. Today I would like to focus on the Mandela effect. It has become increasingly obvious to many more people, that they are experiencing this now. The known and recorded Mandela effects can be sourced generally on the net. I'm not going to list them here, but if you research it yourself, you will find many people experience the same memory discrepancies. It can be brand logo differences, book, movie, or TV title differences. It can be different scenes in movies, or famous people suddenly being alive, which you only noticed because they announced their death. There are subtle differences in the timeline we are experiencing, as to the one we remember. For those old enough to remember why the Mandela effect is named after Nelson Mandela, you will remember the confusion when Winnie wasn't riding to political power on her dead husband's name anymore. Nelson Mandela died in jail and became a martyr. Winnie Mandela was campaigning, carrying on his visions of freedom. This was back in the 80s, that Mandela died in jail. Then suddenly everything changed around 2012 to 13. Suddenly what I remembered, with Winnie taking over from her dead husband, had never happened, and Mandela was alive and well. Then I started hearing stories that didn't reflect kindly on Nelson Mandela, who he was, the opposite of what he appeared to be. At the same time, sting like a bee, Muhammad Ali died. When I heard this, 2012 to 13, I thought, isn't he already dead years ago? I have two memories now, well, three actually, of Muhammad Ali dying, as he has just died this year, in this timeline. But for me, it's the third time I've heard it. Now also, around this time in 2012 to 13, I notice Hurricane Katrina didn't happen when I remembered it. It was a strange time for me, and I dismissed the anomalies, preferring to leave questioning my sanity till later. Another thing that also happened around this time, Mother Teresa had just been canonized as a saint. Saint Teresa became the first living saint. She then went on a world tour. It was a big thing in the papers and news, around this time in 2012 to 13. From my own memory, I think she died shortly after this. But again, it was a glitch, because they were talking about Saint Teresa, and I did think she was already dead. Like Muhammad Ali, she had risen from the grave again. So, it was big news, the first living saint, Saint Teresa. It was probably around 2012 she was canonized, and probably around 2013 she died, again. But in this timeline Mother Teresa died in 1997. I wouldn't have known there was a discrepancy, but they just announced it's official, Mother Teresa has been made a saint, this year September 4, 2016. By this time, I know something is going on with the Mandela effect, and I look up Mother Teresa, and there it shows she died in 1997. Now I'm really confused, first Mandela, Muhammad Ali, Hurricane Katrina, now this. Something is really going on with timelines. One last effect I will share, regards the car that JFK was in, the day he was assassinated. I wasn't born yet, when JFK died. I was born 4 years later. But I remember a lot of confusion when I was a kid, over who was the President of the United States. There was as much talk about the dead JFK, as the actual living president. The main images of JFK's car, the grassy knoll and others, were constantly flashed across TV and newspapers for almost a decade. It was a 4-seater car, with JFK and Jackie in the back, and clearly 2 security personnel in the front, one being the driver. There were 4 people in the car. Now if you look up JFK's assassination, it's a 6-seater car, with 6 people. A few weeks ago, I looked up JFK's assassination, and found it was back to a 4-seater. I wished I had saved the photo, because when I went back several days later, it had reverted to the 6-seater car again and 6 people. It seems that major events are nexus points, that we can see timeline shifts by the subtle differences it created. Simple things, like words spelt differently, slight variations in titles, different logos, are all little details we notice too. As you acknowledge your experience with the Mandela effect, you become more aware of other changes, which previously you dismissed. We are shifting timelines, histories haven't changed, timelines have, and in that timeline a slightly different version of things. You are not crazy, and it's now time to allow those things you dismissed, to come back to your conscious awareness. Medically speaking, they can't dismiss the Mandela effect as group psychosis, or any other imagined thing. These are real memory discrepancies, that occur worldwide, to those who are astute enough to perceive the change. So what is it, this real event, that is happening to people worldwide, on an ever-increasing scale of recognition? It is a natural occurrence in the ascension process, an awakening to the multidimensional aspects of the universe, and perceiving more than just one timeline. We have been taught that our life exists in a constant flow of one timeline. We have been taught many contradictions. Humanity still can't agree on how we were created, where, and why, but each insists theirs is the right version. When you first notice you are on a different timeline, with a slightly different history, you are becoming aware of your multidimensional self, within multiple timelines. Now these timelines are tricky things. Right now we see changes in the history, as we move to a different timeline, and they begin to open us to this understanding, but these timelines are only from our present life perspective. The next part, is understanding past, present and future existing simultaneously, that you are creating now. But that's getting a bit ahead of myself. Past life recognition will become part of your knowing, as will foresight into your future life. Everybody can understand how our memories work, how sometimes even a smell can trigger a memory. You know the life you are living, and in it you create all your memories. Constant advertising, and media frenzies over stories, will imprint on anyone's memory, even if they didn't make a conscious effort to remember it. The Mandela effect can also get very personal. About 6 months ago I met a friend's husband, for the first time. He insisted differently, and said, "Don't you remember you helped us move?" I had never met him, and I never helped them move. I was in another state, and hadn't talked to her in years. I certainly didn't help them move. Now, if I didn't know about the Mandela effect, I would argue with this guy he's wrong, and inside think, is this guy tripping or what? But I started to wonder, what was my other self creating in his timeline? I have no idea of what went on, but he does. Your whole history in this timeline starts to become a mystery to you, and you ask, what have I done in this timeline? You soon realize that it doesn't matter, now is all that matters, and what you are creating in this timeline. I separated from my husband around 4 years ago. We don't talk much, but I had to know what he remembered about Hurricane Katrina. Around a month ago I phoned him, and I asked, expecting he would remember things the same as me. He didn't, and he has very distinctly different memories. I was floored, he wasn't the same man I remembered. It was bizarre, talking to a man you lived with for 25 years, and this man is a stranger. The man I married is on another timeline. It's the same person, but it isn't, they have a completely different memory. No one has the definitive answer, nor can its complexities be perceived by the mind. You can't logic this, it has to be felt and observed within your own experience. When you are recognizing these differences, you have opened yourself to higher frequencies, and now you perceive them. You may not be consciously aware of this yet, but these Mandela effects are your wake-up call, to be consciously aware, so you may have higher truth revealed to your conscious mind. With this knowledge, the conscious mind can now make choices, based upon your own higher wisdom. You are your own best teacher, and I can't stress that enough. Listen to yourself, allow yourself to experience your complete inner knowing. This is what I meant when I said, you can't use your mind. This is where you use your heart, and learn to trust in what comes from within you. Your mind requires logic, that is taught to you. This is the filter you see through, when you try to understand something. It is what we are taught, and not necessarily true. Logic is the rational mind trying to comprehend, and some things, the rational mind can't comprehend. The Mandela effect is one of these. It can't be explained by logic, or what we are taught, and if the mind tries to comprehend it, we think we are crazy. The heart, however, just knows, because it doesn't have that limited filter our mind does. Your heart feels what it wants you to know and understand, and has access to multi-dimensional wisdom. This is again, our lack of trust in our natural instincts and intuitions, that the modern world has deemed invalid. Our heart is our instincts and intuitions, it is our connection between that physical part we know as ourself, and the metaphysical multi-dimensional part. Our heart knows what the head cannot. Your heart understands what your mind can't logic. If you need to hear your heart, ask a question out loud to yourself, like, why am I feeling this way? Then start to answer yourself, with what first comes into your head, I am feeling this way because. The more you listen to yourself, the more you realize your heart's pretty smart, and it knows lots more than your mind. This ascension process is all about raising frequencies, to exist in a higher dimension. As people, we are clearing negative energies, and raising our own universal energies, to higher levels of understanding and experience. We are in the process of changing our whole paradigm. Not just people are ascending, the earth is ascending into a higher frequency of existence as well. The earth is also clearing negative energies, that are largely from us. All the negative activities that attached itself to the earth, are being shaken off, dissipated, and washed clean. In geological terms, the earth has been made trillions of tons lighter, by the mining of minerals, and then burning their mass off into weightlessness. Over time, and incrementally as we consume resources, the earth has literally become much less mass, and lighter. How does a lighter earth spin? Faster. The earth is creating a higher frequency, a much different Schumann resonance, which has risen considerably in the last 10 years. Before this, scientists said it was a fixed frequency. So even scientists are confirming, the earth is gradually increasing its resonant frequency. The earth is ascending in frequency and spin, this is undeniable. The Schumann resonance represents the average resonant frequency of the planet. It is primarily calculated by lightning activity. Lightning occurs every second, somewhere around the world. This constant high energy discharge, makes the earth ring like a bell. The measurement of 7.83 Hz, when it was first confirmed, was said to be the stable pulse of the planet. 20 years ago, just out of audible range of most people, the Schumann resonance was steady at 7.83 Hz. Today the average resonance is over 15 Hz, and within the audible range of most humans. I think everyone worldwide, can see increased storms and lightning. This year alone, so many people getting struck by lightning. But it's also animals, as with a herd of cattle sheltering under a tree, and a large number of wild deer, all believed to have been killed by lightning strikes. The Earth's increases in overall frequency, or Schumann resonance, means that at 15 Hz, most people should be able to hear it, it's within normal hearing range. You might notice this sound, like a hum with a high pitch, ringing in your ears. In the quiet of the night, this sound can become very loud, and noticeable. This is not a medical problem, this is the much louder Schumann resonance. The Earth is also experiencing a fluctuating and weakening magnetic field, indicating pole reversal may be imminent. There is a lot going on with Earth ascending, humans ascending, and if that wasn't enough to deal with, there's more. In a way our solar system is ascending too, as a part of its whole, the Earth ascends within it. This will cascade through many universes, and dimensions. In my belief, nothing can ascend in this solar system, without the aid of its binary partner, to help shake things loose, so the cycle can start afresh. There is another system bound to ours, and they cycle together, two sides of a binary system. It is coming closer to the Sun, and it is disrupting everything in our solar system. This includes Earth. This close encounter, with our polar opposite system, creates changes in the magnetic field, which in turn creates gravity changes. Within the fluidity of the fluctuating and weakened magnetic field, our own duality, or polarity field is affected. Photonic bombardment is likewise increased, as we move through a large photonic band, covering several decades. Inside our DNA are photons, and these photons are responding to the extra outside cosmic influence. All living matter with DNA is being affected by increased photonic stimulation. Herein lies the reconstruction of our original 12-stranded DNA. As we exist now with a 2-stranded DNA, we are metaphysically recreating the other 10 strands, and this is part of the process, unlocking our multidimensional existence and knowledge. DNA is coded information. Photons have been found to stimulate dormant DNA coding, or shut it down, or even rewrite it. The universe is, right now, awakening our DNA and our true selves with messages and information, triggered by extra photonic stimulation inside our DNA. It would be natural to expect that as our DNA becomes more active and reconstructed, then we are more likely to notice things like changing timelines. Our little solar system, in the Milky Way galaxy, is certainly very busy at the moment. We are the main attraction. What will we do with this opportunity? Many are here to support us, some are not. Part of the ascension process also involves becoming part of a larger community, a galactic community. We are not the only life in the universes, or dimensions. We are a small fraction of what exists. But before we can become part of a galactic community, we must ascend within our own personal vibrations and frequencies. When you look at it, the ascension process is multifaceted, and the Mandela effect is one of its facets. The way we see time is changing. The way we see ourselves, and our place in the universe, is changing. The Earth is the place of our current existence, and if we want to continue living on an ascending planet, then we must ascend also, lest we can't exist here at all. Don't worry, or fear, this is a natural part of the process. I was going to talk about another recurring dream, but I wanted to present this first, because it's important to understand, we are experiencing a natural event. My dream is more to do with corruptions to the timelines and the natural course of events, by the manipulations of powerful technologies. I will talk about how our timelines are being corrupted in another video. It is far better we see the positive soul evolution before us, that we as individuals, and as group consciousness, can recreate ourselves on this planet, and with the ascending Earth. We can't avert this cosmic cycle, but we can choose how it affects us. If you can perceive the Mandela effect in your life, then you have subconsciously made a choice to ascend, and your timeline path will be different to those who choose not to. You will not experience a timeline of utter devastation, but one of ascension. Your recognition of changing timelines is your own proof this will be so. Right now, everyone appears to be on the same timeline, but there will come a time when two distinctions will be made in critical energy. Those who choose to ascend, will be on a different timeline, than those choosing not to. Your own experience in the Mandela effect is proof you can shift timelines. When it becomes a conscious choice, rather than an effect, you can shift timelines at will. This is how you will experience a new beginning of a greater state of being. You will still be on the Earth, but in a different timeline, on a higher dimensional plane of existence. I would like to thank everyone, who have shared their own experiences. As we learn from each other, and support each other in our experiences, we become closer, and another facet of ascension. We are not so alone in our experience anymore. In our shared experiences, we are creating higher awareness within ourselves. Thank you for listening. If you liked it, then share it around. If you didn't like it, then share it around anyway, someone you know might get something out of it. Be kind to each other, and yourself. Talk to you soon. Cheers from Carrie. Hello. My name is Carrie. Today I would like to talk more about the Mandela effect. In every journey towards the light, and your own ascension path, you will find stumbling blocks, hurdles and blockades. The darkness seeks to strengthen its own position, and will thwart your attempts, in the hope you will fail. It is important to see what the darkness is, but it's just as important to not feed it, to not give it more power, from the darkness of your own thoughts, when you get angry or fearful. These things, as violence also does, feeds the darkness. Try to see the darkness without a dark response. Feed it light and dissipate its power. Instead of despair, see hope and a vision of a better future, and start working towards it from this moment on. Have faith that humanity is wise enough, people are wise enough, to eventually rise above it, and we will. In my previous video, I wanted to focus on the natural occurrence of what the Mandela effect is a part of, an ascension process. Today my focus is not one that is so positive, in respects of a natural ascension, but negative, in respect of tampering with the natural process by unnatural means. This unnatural tampering is revealed to me through my recurring dreams, which I will detail further on here, along with how timelines are being corrupted. But first I will explain how I see the ascension process, so you may understand how my dreams of corrupted timelines relates to ascension. There are more than two choices in the ascension process, as one astute listener pointed out. There are indeed several other choices an individual may choose. The earth is ascending, and not all people will choose to ascend with the earth to a higher dimensional existence. Some may choose to ascend to another dimension, or different system entirely, some will even leave this galaxy to follow their own path. These are the main choices before humanity, if they choose an ascending path. Each individual, who has chosen an ascending path, will start to consciously will themselves onto the timeline of their choice, where their ascension can proceed as they desired. There is, however, another group who is on an ascending path, and this is also a choice, but by the majority opinion, their choice would be perceived as unnatural. It is not natural, and they use technology to fake ascension. Natural ascension is achieved through personal growth, and your own enlightenment. An unnatural ascension requires no personal growth, and a person can be filled with only self-serving desires, and many of the negatives we experience in this world today. You can't ascend naturally, with negatives in your own self. There has to be a natural unity of balance within yourself. This group, who are attempting an unnatural ascension, and corrupting timelines, are known by many names. The powers that be. Old family money and power. The New World Order. The elite. The Kabbalah, or hidden. Then there are the multitude of sub-branches, the Illuminati, Zionists, Skull and Bones, Club of Rome, United Nations, governments, the media. The branches of its web are many, and worldwide. This group of people have enough money, power, and resources, to achieve their desired path to ascension. In their ascended version of Earth, we continue under their control, rather than our intended natural path. This is already happening, and is called transhumanism. If this group are successful, our natural ascension will be encased or trapped, within the artificial reality created. Many are already calling it the Matrix. But this is only one possible choice. Within such an artificial ascension framework, some will choose yet again, not to ascend that way, and with their own will, shift to another timeline. I could go on for hours describing how many choices mean many paths. It would be impossible to explore all the paths to ascension. For each path, for each individual, it's a choice for their own journey and soul experience. So when I talk about ascension, there is both positive and negative choices that people will make. Nobody is forced to ascend, and if it were any other time and place, you could say no, and just continue here on earth, in the reincarnation cycle, until the next opportunity. However, this time around is slightly different. Not only do humans have the opportunity to evolve, but the Earth is going through an ascension process as well. To live on Earth, you must match the pulse of the planet. You have to be operating in the same range as the planet. The Schumann resonance is rising still, and the 7.83 Hz it once was, is now over 15 Hz. We have to match the Earth's increase, piece for piece, or we will slip out of vibrating range. In simple terms, I can't sugarcoat the harsh experience, for those who are vibrating out of Earth's range, and what they will encounter. A natural ascension, for those holding too many negatives, is almost impossible, unless augmented with transhumanism technologies. So for those not choosing any ascension, you have chosen a different path, but it can no longer continue on Earth. You will continue onto another planet already prepared, where you can continue this 3D mindset and linear time, and the reincarnation cycle. There are many choices for individuals at this time, but the Earth will not support a 3D mindset and linear time for much longer. Those who can't match her, will have to leave. For those leaving the Earth's 3D to go to another 3D planet, they will start to diverge from the timelines of those who have chosen ascension. Those choosing to leave the Earth for another 3D planet, will be on a much more turbulent timeline, than those ascending and staying on Earth. For those wanting to continue the 3D experience, you will go through a death cycle, so you may be reborn within the 3D planet of your choice. That is pretty much how I understand the broad outline of ascension. As I said before, it's impossible to list every individual path and choice. These are what I see as basic summaries, and not meant as a detailed and all-encompassing account. I said I was quickly going to talk about ascension, but it's not a simple subject to try to put simply. It's one of the things your heart needs to be used for, instead of logic. Before, I discussed a group that seeks an artificial ascension, and it is their activities that bring to mind my two recurring dreams. One is about the misuse of technologies, causing planetary extinction events in the past, and the other is the use of technologies, polluting or corrupting timelines in our present. Now, before I discuss what I mean about these warnings involving technologies, I will tell you the second recurring dream I had, in 2008. I described my childhood recurring dream in a previous video, in which the Earth and all life was being destroyed. I believed for many years it was a premonition of the future, until I realized it was both. This was a memory, and had occurred in the past. It is also a warning for our immediate future, to not repeat history. Now, I will recount my recurring dream from 2008, the ones that were happening at the same time I experienced Hurricane Katrina, in a different timeline, and time perception distortions. I can recall the details of my recurring dreams in greater detail from 2008, than I could for my previously mentioned childhood one. Every night for weeks, I would have the same dream, and wake up in shock. After a couple of weeks, I began to dread going to sleep. I didn't want to have the dream again. It's not nice to be drowning every night. I tried everything to set my mind in different directions, hoping I wouldn't end up in the same nightmare. I thought pre-sleep suggestion might divert my dreams elsewhere. It didn't work. I know of only one way to stop it, from many previous experiences, both in conscious and subconscious sensing, was to tell someone. As soon as you acknowledge it, by voicing it out loud to someone else, it stops. So I told my husband, and that night I had the same dream, but this time I didn't drown, and there was a conclusion. The next night, the recurring dream didn't happen. I knew it had completed its message, that I had to acknowledge this important message, even if I didn't understand it yet. There is always time enough to understand things later, when the time is right. Time reveals all truths eventually. In my dream, I am on a big boat, like a cruise ship size, and it's rapidly sinking. People are running around, trying to find a way off the boat, looking for life rafts that aren't there. I can't see any of these other people, I just know they are going in all directions looking for escape, and I can hear them, sort of. The boat is already half sunk, and it's poking out of the water, like the final moments of the Titanic, before it completely sinks. Time is running out, but it's hard to move around anywhere, because the floor is now a wall, the wall becomes the floor, and all the doorways are now holes you can fall through. I am on my own, there are no other people around to help, and I have to find a way to escape, or die. Things are flying around everywhere, making it even more difficult to move. Suddenly I find myself at an opening in the boat, and a way to escape, just in time before it goes under. I look around, thinking about the safest way to not get sucked down, then the next thing I'm submerged in the water, struggling to surface and drowning. Then I wake. Every night after that, 4 weeks, the same dream. But each night it was from a slightly different perspective, a different part of the ship, different things flying about. It was the same ship, same attempt to escape, same escape ledge, same drowning, just different parts of the ship I started each time. It's like in a game, when you go on a mission, fail and die. You restart, and keep trying, many different ways if you have to, until you succeed. Once you pass the mission, you can move on to the next one. I had weeks of this nightmare, and I wanted it to stop, so I told my husband, because I knew that would work, and it did. That night, I was on the ship again, same stuff trying to escape, then I end up in the water drowning. But this time, I'm not thrashing around trying to reach the surface. I am suddenly lifted underneath from my stomach, and under both my shoulders and arms. It was 3 dolphins, raising me to the surface. As I surfaced, I noticed the dark clouds were gone, and it was really sunny and calm. I saw a beautiful tropical island, white sand, and clear crystal blue water, you know, the typical holiday scene on a small remote and uninhabited island. The dolphins surfed me toward the island. I was still laying face down, but the dolphins raised me enough out of the water. As we got near the shore I could see a small jetty. As we got to the shallow water the dolphins split off. I body surfed the rest of the way on the momentum they had given me. As I am coming into land, I can hear the dolphin warn me as he is swimming off, "Beware the poison water," he said. I thought, what? Then the next thing I was on that small jetty. As I stand on the jetty, a small clear vial, full of liquid, tumbles through the air towards the water. I know it's poison, and if it falls into the water it's not going to be good, everyone will be infected. I dive for the vial as it goes into the water, trying to catch it. I miss, and the vial breaks. I panic, I know this is poison, and I am expecting to die now. Then I realize, I'm still underwater and I'm not drowning, in fact I seem to be able to breathe, somehow. I can breathe, and the poison has no effect on me. Then I woke. This was a far more pleasant ending to my dream, than what I had experienced for the last several weeks. But it did leave me with questions. I knew it all related to space water, but I didn't know how it could be poisoned, or what space water really was. I did know, however, that whatever the poison water was, it wouldn't affect me. In simple terms, space water is, space-time and dimension, the great ocean of experience and existence. The poison is the unnatural that corrupts the waters of timelines. Every night I saw the ship from a different perspective, but it was the same theme, escape. I was meant to notice this difference, because the ship represents timelines, and all the possibilities. The poison water is sinking ships, or interference in space-time is destroying timelines. I've learned a lot about dreams and myself over the years. Many are already aware of the deep symbolism in water, and dolphins. There is a cosmic connection, of metaphysical and spiritual significance. In essence, I have come to see this recurring dream as a warning about corruption of timelines, an unnatural and man-made corruption. I am not affected by this corruption to timelines, the poison doesn't affect me. Only those immune to the poison can see timelines change. If you are experiencing the Mandela effect, then you too are immune to the poison water, or the corrupted timeline. You know it's changed, where most haven't noticed at all. One thing I'd like to point out is, that light exists in polarity, with dark. Without the dark, there would be nothing to define the light. As I perceive there are man-made corruptions, a darkness, I also see how it has defined the light to many. It is the very evils we don't like, that enable us to choose between light and dark, to see the differences, and thereby define your own choice and path. With man-made corruptions, it has amplified the ascension energies, and many more are able to start to see other timelines exist. This is a positive in the ascension process, although negative. Negative, because you have to work harder at your own light. Positive, because many more are awakening to their own light, adding to the overall positive ascension the majority would desire. We are challenged to grow and change our perspective. When you can thank the darkness for pointing out the light to you, for the karma they take on to show you this, then you know you are at the foundations of true unity within yourself. This is how I perceive the integration of light and dark, to become as one, and exist in the reality oneness created. The law of one is now a well-understood concept, thanks to Edgar Cayce. To use Edgar Cayce's terminologies, today there are the children of the law of one, and the followers or sons of Belial. These are the light and dark forces within our duality. It is our choice which one to embody, which one we feed, and that which we deny voice. It should always be remembered, that it is never too late, in this now moment, to change your mind and embody something else. Whatever leads to now, whatever your history, it doesn't matter, changing what you do in the now is the first step, and a conscious choice to being on a different path. You can change in a second, and it is that simple. Recently, I became aware of the connection between the Mandela effect, time, and my recurring dream, and the warning it contained. My head has a lot of stuff in it, lots of little puzzle pieces. Sometimes things happen, and many puzzle pieces come together. It's not that you recognize the pieces, and start putting it together to see what it forms, it's like the completed picture flashes in your head, telling the pieces that formed it. My belief on the Mandela effect is one such experience. I didn't piece it together, it was just put together as a complete picture in my head, showing how all pieces tie in. I didn't intentionally or intellectually analyze it, and come up with a theory. I just sensed it, saw it as a complete concept and how it fits. My head didn't put it together, it was my heart, my inner knowing that solved it, and put the picture in my head. The truth is, as I open myself to make a video, the story grows and changes, in ways I couldn't have anticipated. Some of the things I say come directly from the higher wisdom of my heart. In many ways, I feel I am channeling more of my higher self into the video, than my conscious self. There are many who open themselves to higher wisdom, through writing, drawing, singing, dancing, other languages, and many other creative expressions. There is limitless potential for expressing higher knowledge in many different ways. I encourage people to explore their own creative expressions, and bring out your own higher wisdom to a conscious reality. One of the pieces of puzzle I had, was my recurring dream. The only thing I was sure of was that the poison water referred to space water, but I didn't know how space water could be poisoned. This piece had remained a puzzle for 8 years, until a few weeks ago. I knew, sensed many aspects, to do with the water, the poison, and the dolphins warning in my dream. But I also knew, I wasn't understanding everything about it yet. I was missing something. You ask yourself, what am I missing, quite a few times. As hard as you look, as much as you try to intellectualize it, you just can't see the missing piece. But I am also aware, that an answer will present itself, when you have learned enough to understand the answer. Time reveals all truths eventually, as you are ready to receive them. In my previous video, I recalled the recurring dream I had around 40 years ago. It was a past memory of historical earth-changing events, and a warning to the future, to not repeat the same mistake. The recurring dream in 2008 was showing how man-made technology is corrupting the very fabric of space-time. We are coming to the same point of potential. We must understand, and tread carefully, in areas we don't fully understand yet. All the best laid plans of mice and men. For every one thing you think you have considered could happen, and you have exhausted every possibility you can think of, it will always be the one you didn't think of, that brings you undone. A comment was left on one of my videos the other day, that I think is very pertinent to our world today. Biblical prophecy is unfolding today, and one quote about these times we are living, and it is, when old men will dream dreams, and the young men will have visions, a spiritual outpouring on the earth. We are in those prophesied times, when the last days will be as the first days. The spiritual evolution has blossomed in the last few years, growing more and more, from people awakening to their own spirituality. Every person is like a drop of light, in the ocean of light ascending. The more drops who join the ocean, the more light that is available to everyone on an ascending path. Darkness is being dissipated, with light. There is a cyclic event, disrupting our solar system, and our planet. It's happened before, and will cycle again in the future. But right now, our solar system is in close proximity to its binary partner, its opposite system. The forces are at play in our solar system, and on Earth. Powerful forces, that will cause worldwide changes. This is a natural occurrence, and can't be averted. It can, however, be minimized, or maximized, in its destructive forces. In the past, technology has compounded this natural occurrence of the Planet X system, or Planet of the Crossing, as it is historically known. I'm not going to explain here, that advanced beings and humans, did possess great technology tens of thousands of years ago. Our true history has been turned into mythology. The natural occurrence, of the Planet of the Crossing system, in close proximity, caused natural disruption. Back then, powerful technology was used, technology that disrupts the quantum particles, and the fabric of space and time. We are at the same point now, as what they were at, thousands of years ago. Will we allow the use of such destructive forces, without remembrance of what happened last time? It's happened before, more than once. We don't remember it, because our history books don't tell us. Our history books don't tell us lots of things, and sometimes just plain, outright BS. So, all this is going on right now, as well as the spiritual awakening of mankind, and our ascension into a higher dimensional plane of existence. Part of the ascension process, is to recognize the existence of or infinite timelines. It is natural evolution, to perceive ourselves changing timelines, and realize the multidimensional nature of the universe. It is, however, unnatural when timelines are changed by the use of technologies. I am getting to corrupted timelines, but it does take some foundation work, to bring pieces together as one. The world is complicated today, with billions of individual choices playing out at any one time. Those working in secret, have put every effort into keeping their business hidden, and their true intentions and activities, concealed. Compartmentalize everything, and keep people separate, is a very successful technique they use. Control the media, and what people get to see and know, is another. Their techniques are many, compartmentalized and controlling, into directing mass perception to their desired reality. I have briefly described before, what I believe is the cause of corrupted timelines, and the root cause of the Mandela effect. But I perhaps, didn't point out very well, that the Mandela effect, has both natural and unnatural origins. To say that technological induced Mandela effects are the root cause, is failing to incorporate the natural evolution which brings this perception to us. We are starting to perceive time in a different way, and perceptions of our existence releases many falsehoods, and creates new truths. The strongest force at play in our ascension process is natural. Its positive strength can be quickly turned into massive destruction, if we tout the balance artificially. The group I mentioned earlier, who want an unnatural technologically enhanced ascension, have vast amounts of money, power, and resources. They own projects like CERN, HAARP, and the D-Wave quantum computer. They own everything, and they like to think they own us too. We live in a universe of duality, so for everything you will find, there are at least two ways of achieving something, in a positive way, or a negative way. This is the universal law we live by, that of choice and free will. This is duality. As we go through the ascension process, there are those who choose the positive and natural way, then there are those who choose a negative way, and need artificial means to ascend. Merely another example of the complexity of what duality creates. For those who want to cheat on the ascension process, they must have the technology to do it. They also need an Earth timeline, that has the possible outcome of their successful ascension, through using technology. As I mentioned earlier, some pieces just come together on their own, and one day your mind perceives the picture, and the pieces it's made of. My dreams 40 years ago, and my dreams in 2008, are both related to what we are experiencing now. It was a video I watched only weeks ago, that took many pieces and formed a picture. It was on quantum computers, and accessing other dimensions, and their resources. As I am watching the video, these pieces started to flash through my head, and before I realized it, it had formed a picture. What I had been missing all along, to understand all the pieces, was the quantum computer. Once I realized this, other pieces came in again, to form another picture. This time it was telling me, my recurring dreams are related, and it has to do with space-time, and misuse of dangerous technologies that greatly disturb the natural forces. If not stopped, these disturbances will escalate to catastrophic events. Enter CERN, the D-Wave quantum computer, HAARP, and nanoparticles. Stage 1, Localized Effect. D-Wave quantum computers have the capacity to access other dimensions. CERN can access portals and time. Together they can access other dimensions and timelines, and in the timeline sense, can travel in time, parallel timelines, and multidimensionally. They can create localized effects, or portals, but it is not sufficient to affect the whole planet. Stage 2, Planetary-wide effect. To place the whole planet in a force field, to move it through timelines or dimensions, requires massive amounts of directed power. HAARP provides that power, as well as encompassing the globe. HAARP's power is directed by the nanoparticles left behind by chemtrails. So, we have the use of HAARP and nanoparticle technology, to encompass the Earth in an artificial bubble. And the technology of particle acceleration and collision, to create particle explosions to open portals. And a D-Wave quantum computer, to direct portals to other dimensions and timelines, and bring back resources. With the combination of all these technologies, those who can't ascend naturally, can shift the whole planet to a timeline they prefer, that favors their own desired technologically enhanced ascension. We, the people of this planet, have no idea what may have already been brought back here, or resources as they like to call them. We don't know anything about what they are doing, or bringing back. We don't know the effect it is having on the planet. Space-time is being polluted, at a quantum level. Quantum-level disruptions, can erupt into catastrophic cascade, at the macro level, and disrupt matter cohesion. Everything that is physical, or is matter, exists of quantum particles, come together to form larger structures, like atoms, then atoms form elements, and then complex chemical structures and forms. As the quantum particles grow out, it becomes seen in its larger representations, some more complex than others, but all diverse. All life is made of quantum particles, so disrupting the quantum field can have disastrous effects on all life. I believe that the only clue we have to use, as to the time frame of any artificial planetary timeline shifts, may be found in a former CERN employee's statement. He claims that CERN have opened portals, and they can change events, or at least delay them, in 3-year increments. He didn't know much about what they were doing, or why, he just knew it involved tampering with the natural course of events, for 3 years. The CERN employee also said that, around April 2016, they reset it for another 3 years. What are they resetting? This employee said, "Don't ask me why it's 3 years, it's always 3 years." This caught my attention, always 3 years. What did he mean by always? How many times have they done this? I was left with 2 questions, what is being done every 3 years, and how many times have they done it? It just popped into my head, the same number of years difference between 2008 and 2005, to do with Hurricane Katrina. So when did it start? Instantly 9/11/2001 stood out, as the energy event that started a big ball rolling, that needed holding back every 3 years. Many people worldwide woke up that day, and since that time they have been trying to hold back the inevitable. This 3-year difference may have something to do with revelations of CERN creating portals to other dimensions and times, and the CERN employees' revelations. So, these things just popped into my head, but did they have any foundation to them? I started to analyze events and memories, and when I remember them. Does 2001 to 2016 fit with 3 yearly resets? 2001, 2004, 2007, 2010, 2013, 2016, so I'd say the answer is yes. I believe that, since 2001, there has been an increased and concerted effort to shift the whole Earth to other timelines, in a bid to hamper the natural ascension process, and one that will magnify their own chances at an unnatural ascension. If the information is correct, then Earth has shifted world timelines, with us included, at least 6 times now. There have been at least 6 incursions of technology upon the natural ascension process. But again, a little nagging question, the 3 years doesn't quite feel right. I can see that pattern fits some experiences, but there was more. In talking with someone else about this, I realized, it's been compartmentalized, there is more than one group doing these timeline resets at CERN, and none of them know about the others. Another nagging question, how many don't remember 9/11 happening in 2001, because they will have another clue. I didn't voice this publicly, but waited for someone to reveal it had happened to them. If my instinct was right, there would be a few who remember 9/11 differently. These questions all became related to the compartmentalization of CERN groups, each operating on a 3-year timetable, but collectively these projects can operate a worldwide effect on shorter time frames. I have had certain strange experiences in 2008, 2011 and 2014, that didn't fit into the 3-year timeline. It could just be a natural effect and not technologically induced, but that doesn't feel right. What feels right, is that at least 2 groups are operating at CERN on a 3-year timetable, with effects 18 months apart. These resets would be done around equinoxes and solstices, to utilize natural energies as well. In considering that timeline corruptions are done every 18 months, then most of my anomalies match the time frame, and it feels right, almost balanced. Most things natural are subtle, they don't come carrying a neon sign. The unnatural timeline shifts are carrying a neon sign, and makes it more noticeable to people every time it happens. The Mandela effect has waves of awareness, as the number perceiving a shifted timeline grows. The positive in CERN's negative, it is creating more awareness, not less. What does it mean to us, as individuals, to be shifted every 18 months? It means we have less time to adjust to a timeline shift, before we are shifted again. This is why so many now feel disrupted, or scattered, or confused. It affects you in ways you may not have perceived. Why can't I get to sleep? Why is your body going from highly energized to flat? Why don't I like the foods I used to? Why do people keep telling me I do things I know I didn't? Disruptions of the timeline, at quantum levels, is revealing symptoms to us, but we think it's related to the physical world, and what we have been trained to think. Doctors are for symptoms, and he will tell you the obvious: you are stressed, find ways to relax. Here, take a pill. If you have emotional issues with other people, go see a psychiatrist. If your memory isn't the same, well, you may have early Alzheimer's or dementia. To a doctor's understanding, ascension and corrupted timelines are a disease that can be treated with a pill or specialist therapy. You are broken and need fixing. Doctors are right about one thing: there is a dis-ease in the body, but his diagnosis and remedy is completely off. Doctors, like many other trained professionals, are taught to think within the framework of a predefined box. They are not scientists, with a broad understanding of the world. They are trained savants, experts in one thing, and only an expert because of what they were taught by academics, with a preset curriculum and agenda to pass the test. More people will become consciously aware of multiple timeline possibilities, and expand their mind to embrace a multidimensional reality. Every time CERN resets a timeline, more people have evolved the consciousness to step outside linear thinking, and realize, they too, are now experiencing the Mandela effect. What is the point of this? What is the end goal, or timeline? Who benefits, and who suffers? Of course, any conjecture is open to interpretation. Some may be asking, but you don't know any of this, what makes you think this is true? I'm not asking anyone to believe what I'm saying, it's one perspective, and not the only one. I expect people to use their own good judgment. What you believe now can quickly change, so all you can do is explain how you see things now. I know this from experience, as you are sometimes forced by reality to reshape your belief system. This is part of the continual lesson of life. The use of technology in the ascension process will create a negative impact on the dimensional existence we create for the next grand cycle. The ascension process is about spiritual advancement, about soul growth. It's not something you can cheat by faking it with technology. The natural way involves humans evolving on a spiritual level and creating a harmonic world, respectful of all life and balance. This raises a person's aura, their own personal vibratory frequency, that is in sync with the dimensional plane they are experiencing. Those faking it with technology have to create their own personal higher frequency by using a pulse generator of some sort, something that reproduces frequencies high enough to maintain their existence in that dimension. But underneath the technology and the fake higher frequency lies the heart of a lower thinking being who has not evolved spiritually. It is a fake ascension, and this unevolved being carries all its negativity with it, beneath the fake exterior technology has created for it. It is a pollution, a negative energy, although veiled behind a technological field, reacts as any photon does, and is linked by hive consciousness. The photons outside the field know what's inside, and are disrupted from their natural course, and are polluted because of it. Thank you for listening. For those who don't like Dave's voice, or if you would simply like to read this, I have put a link down below for a transcript. If you liked it, then don't forget to hit the like button. If you didn't like it, then share it around anyway, someone you know might get something out of it. Be kind to each other, and yourself. Talk to you soon. Cheers from Carrie.